Okay, the IMF deputy director resigned here recently. So what does that mean? And what does that have to do with Christine Lagarde resigning, who was the head director of the IMF here recently? Well, we'll get to that in a minute, but I think we need to touch on this because I think what this is all leading up to is the U.S. dollar issues that I think are in serious trouble, and it's amassed all of this debt, and itself is no more than debt. So I think it's very troubling for the U.S. dollar going ahead. And we are in a very precarious system because everything seems to be up in arms right now. Whether or not you believe in President Trump and if you think he's doing something that's right or wrong, it looks like he's creating a lot of chaos in the markets, especially in the financial system. So the U.S. dollar is failing all around due to the massive amount of debt it has amassed. And it's amassed all of this over a period of years as the financial elite have silently been stealing your wealth from you. And like I said, whether or not you believe in President Trump and what you think he's doing, I believe, in my opinion, he's trying to restore the power to the people. And what I mean is he's trying to restore the financial system back to the people instead of the financial elite where it's at right now. Because the stock market itself, it's totally rigged by the financial elite. If they want it to go up, they can manipulate it up. If they want it to go down, they can manipulate it to go down. And if you don't believe this, you can go out there and research it. All of this was documented back in the 60s. By several people that have done the research on it, and I can't recall their name off the top of my head, but they've figured out that the financial elite can control the markets and push it up or down. Basically what they do is, like, if you have a limit order on your stocks, they can see your limit order and they'll typically bring the stock price down below the limit order to force you to sell, or vice versa, so that if you're trading up, then they'll create a fake sell. They'll run it up a little bit so you'll sell, and then you'll be out of it, and then they'll drop the price back down, then they'll buy back in. It's a long story on how it gets there, but if you've heard of anything in the federal government, the plunge protection team was created back in the 80s, I believe, and it was created to help restore the normality in the market so that the markets can't have those precarious long down cycles that would cause havoc in the system. Well, that's basically those guys just rigging the system to basically do whatever they want. Yes, the SEC is involved, but really they're not looking out for the best interest of you and me. So we're going forward into a new system where I believe everything's going to slowly evolve over the next 5 to 10 years, and it's going to move more and more towards a gold-based system, or in my opinion, it'll probably move more to a crypto-type system like Bitcoin, as these guys have been slowly stealing your wealth through a process called inflation, and they've done this over the last 100 years. In the last 100 years, the U.S. dollar is worth about 5 cents of what it was back in 1913 before the Federal Reserve was started. The Federal Reserve is not federal, and it's not a bank, and it's not backed by anything. It's a bunch of the financial elite that created their own central bank, and now basically it runs the world because they control the monetary system with it. This 95 cents that has been eroded away went basically all into the central banking system and the people that run it. So that's basically what makes up the Federal Reserve, and I believe here in the next several years, President Trump's going to try and reverse that, and he's going to try and get rid of the Federal Reserve. He may just nationalize it, put it back into the Treasury, is what I'm hearing. So if you want to go back, you can go back and see evidence of how bad this has gotten. You go back and watch some older TV shows that's on whatever TV program you want to watch. One of my favorites, The Rockford Files. And they often refer to things in the show about how things were cost, such as you could get a meal for $2.60 in the show. And Jim typically charges $200 a day for his services, and everybody thought back then that that was outrageously high. Of course, in today's society, that wouldn't be bad at all, but back then that was pretty obscene. So it just goes to show how much inflation has taken effect. And if you look around in your own neighborhood, just look at the housing prices. Housing prices are insane. Everywhere you go, these housing prices are like artificially high because there's this artificially low interest rate all around. If you look anywhere you see interest rates now, they're back down to almost historic lows, and they're probably going to go further down because President Trump's going to milk the system, I believe, until it's totally dry, and they're going to keep pushing the rates down. So you may be able to still refinance a few more times, but all of these housing prices are basically an artificial bubble because the number one thing that drives housing prices is what kind of mortgage you can get on the house. If you raise interest rates over 10%, say tomorrow, and you did that, you would have virtually no buyers in the system because nobody'd be willing to buy a house now if they had to pay 10% interest. But we keep driving the interest rates down to nearly zero, so now everybody thinks that these houses are worth buying because they think they can get a super low interest rate, and all you're really doing is just driving up the price of the house. And as Robert Kiyosaki would say, your house is not really an asset, so you're basically playing a dangerous game of, well, who's holding the ball last, and that house is one of those things that's going to be the person who's getting there. So I think President Trump has already referred back to wanting to build the new monetary system with gold, and he's come out defiant of cryptos. And I think at this point in time, that's the only thing he can do, because if he embraces Bitcoin or any type of crypto at this point, I think that's going to do all kinds of problems for the plans that he's got going forward. He's come out and verbally criticized Bitcoin, that it's not money, and our monetary system is going to revolve around the dollar. But I do believe that he is building a parallel system. He's trying to bring back all the manufacturing, which truly builds the wealth of a country. If you look at any country that's amassed any type of wealth, it's because they do some type of manufacturing of products. They take raw materials and turn them into products that they can sell to people all around the world or in their own country, and that's how they build up their financial equity. And I believe what he's going to do is he's going to try and build up this parallel economy and get it running, and then at the same time he's going to start rebuilding all of the infrastructure in America, all of our roads and our bridges and our decaying infrastructure, our power grid, and get it back up where it should be. Like China right now is known for having some of the best infrastructure in the world. They've invested all that money they've printed over there in China to build up their country. So they're building up their country through their infrastructure, but now they've got all kinds of debt problems to go along with it. So I think the world of money is evolving right now, and it's kind of evident if you just look at the evolution of the cell phone. Take a look at this picture, and it just kind of shows how far we've come just in the cell phone. I think we're kind of at the beginning stages of this cryptocurrency revolution as well. If you've ever tried to buy anything with your US dollars in a digital form here lately, you know how troublesome and cumbersome it can become. They're all saying these days that this US dollar and these banks are reinventing themselves so they can be mobile friendly, and they've got an app that works. It turns your US dollars supposedly into a digital currency, but in reality it doesn't, because you're giving up all your private information in order to make the transaction. The difference between that and cryptocurrencies is, with a cryptocurrency, you give up zero private information as far as your identity goes in order to make the transaction. When you push the payment to the other party, then you know that the payment has gone through, and then the other party can see it come through, and they know it's actually in their wallet, so they know that that cryptocurrency is actually in their wallet, and there's no identity that has to exchange hands on either side of the transaction. If you go to a motel or a hotel and you put up your debit card for payment, they will put a lock on your funds for up to 10 days. Well, why is that if their system is so good at paying for things? Well, it's because they're afraid that they may not get paid, so they lock down part of your account in your bank to tie up those funds, so in case something goes wrong, they can get paid for it. Well, to me, it's a bad system because it's basically putting a Band-Aid on your elbow for your knee you just skinned up. So I think this is evolution, that it's pretty evident to me that we got to move to a better system. And it's just like the internet was way back in the 1990s. Nobody could do any type of email back then, but here now, another 25 years later, we're all doing email, and we can't even begin to think about how we would operate life without an email system. So with that, I think we'll probably start handling more and more transactions all the time. This system of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are going to continually evolve. They'll get faster, they'll get better, there'll be new ideas developed over time, and probably 25 years into the future we'll look back on this and go, I wonder why we didn't see this coming. I truly believe this is the evolution that's come at us, and now is the time we need to embrace it, because we're going to move forward into a new world. And if, like I say, President Trump, if he keeps enacting all of these policies the way he's enacting them, he's going to pretty much, I think, get rid of the central banking system. And if he does that, we're going to need a new system to run alongside of it. And I think that's what he's developing right now, even though he's coming out right now defiant of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. So moving forward, we will go into the future and probably start using these cryptocurrencies the way we should and embrace them going forward. So with that, we will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.